Eating disorders, problems with food, with body image, manipulating how we eat, feeling out of control of how we eat is really common throughout society. We all have either been there or know someone who has. So, how do you know if the problem you're experiencing with food, with your body, is at the level where it requires help? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Jessica Johns Green. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been working for over 15 years with mental health and focusing a lot on eating disorders and body image. I also work with issues related to trauma, relationships, and general mood stuff like depression and anxiety. But let's talk about eating disorders today. And I wanted to talk about this issue because it's really nearly universal. It's so common when I meet someone for the first time who's coming in with some issue related to their body, related to their eating habits. They're really unsure, is this actually a problem? Even people who are experiencing severe issues often question, am I just being dramatic? Am I just making too much of this? And eating disorders are a real tricky beast. They have almost seems like a mind of their own that convinces us that it's not really that bad and it's all okay. Maybe it's the eating disorder, maybe also it's where we're at as a society. We're so image focused, we are so full of information about ways to manipulate how we look, so focused on self improvement, that an eating disorder is something that can feel like, isn't this just normal? If it gets out of control, there might almost be a sort of self blaming thing that people go through. Like, look, everyone else can diet and exercise and it not turn into a problem. What's wrong with me that I can't just manage it? On the other end of the spectrum, everyone else can eat out and go through drive-throughs and, have big meals and it doesn't turn into something uncontrolled. What's wrong with me? It's tough because, maybe it's one of those things where when you're tuned into it, you see it everywhere, but people have a lot of problems. A lot of people have a lot of problems with their body and food. Many of us struggle with how to feed ourselves well and how to have a healthy relationship with food. And sometimes that doesn't reach the level of eating disorder. Sometimes it does reach to the level of eating disorder, and we have ways of dismissing it, minimizing it. And sometimes we're in the grips of eating disorder and we know it, but we're still second guessing and questioning ourselves. So let's get into this question. How do you know if it's bad enough? This is a common question that I get asked. It's really common for people to consider therapy, come to therapy, but still be in that headspace of, yeah, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I just need to tough it out. Maybe I just need more willpower. Maybe I, just can get over it in some way. I'm being overly dramatic. How do we determine if it's at the level that more help is needed? For me, how I would think about it, how I would determine if this eating issue is at the level where it requires further help is, number one, the level of danger to your physical health. And when we change the way we eat, um, when our eating habits are dysregulated, there is going to be something physically happening. And I'm not saying that to make you afraid, but just to make you aware that that's one factor that's going to be considered. What is the level of risk to your physical health? The second thing is, how does this particular eating issue affect your life? What is the level that this eating issue is screwing up your day-to-day life, so to speak? That's something to consider. Is it sucking up a lot of your energy? Is it taking up a lot of your time? Is it interrupting your ability to just do normal things? And lastly, what is the level to which this eating issue affects your mood? Is it something that, brings extreme highs and lows? Is it something that numbs you out? Is it something that detaches you from your emotions? Is it something that drags you down into the depths of sadness, despair, and self-criticism? These three things: level of risk to the health, level of its ability to screw up your day-to-day life, and level of its impact on your emotions. These would be kind of three main headings that I would use to determine, is this a problem? And so let's talk about four things, four ways that you can maybe look at your issue with food and start to question, am I seeing these things? Is this something that I need further help with? Let's talk about them. And you're noticing that there's some sort of disturbance with your ability to eat regularly, to eat normally, disturbance around your body, your feelings about your body. And the first thing is, you know what? If you're at the point where you're asking, is this bad enough to deserve help? And the answer is probably yes. Probably. It at least warrants sitting down and finding out more, whether that's with a professional, whether that's taking a screening tool or reading more about what eating disorders are, and questioning, do you have one, whether it's getting checked out by a doctor or speaking to an informed dietitian. If you're asking these questions, there's a reason why. And don't get drawn into that minimizing. If how you're eating, if how it feels in your body is causing that much distress, chances are it's something that needs a little bit more support and help to get to the other side of. Eating shouldn't feel that way. A healthy relationship with food and body is not something that never grabs your attention, but it's not something that sucks all of your energy and your attention into it to the point where you're left questioning, is this a problem? If it's sucking that much in energy in, then chances are yes. Some of the warning signs under this point would be where you might be noticing that there's problems, trying to find ways to minimize, to deny that there's a problem, even to the point of maybe researching, how far can I push this before it is a problem? If you're seeing those things, then the problem is definitely big enough to seek some help. As I said earlier, the thing about eating disorders is they do seem to go hand in hand with a lot of denial and minimization. It's almost as though the eating disorder itself wants to survive and wants to maintain control over you. And how it does that is by minimizing and denying that it's even there or that it's causing a big problem for you. So physical symptoms, it maybe goes without saying, but physical symptoms are the second thing to maybe pay attention to. Your body will let you know when it's not in a good state of health, when it's either getting, the wrong kind of food, too much food, too little food. Some things that you might notice: sleep. Sleep is going to be affected. Either maybe feeling very, very tired and lethargic all the time, sleeping too much, or finding difficulty getting to sleep, staying asleep, difficulty waking up in the morning and getting your engine going. These things alongside food issues are something to pay attention to. You also want to watch out for signs that your body is doing something metabolically that is not great for you. So if you're sweating during your sleep, this could indicate a deeper problem. Also, if you're having trouble staying at the right temperature, you're finding yourself being cold all the time or hot all the time, and you can't sort of feel comfortable if you're wearing extra clothes when everyone else is in t-shirts, you're in a sweatshirt. This is something to see as a sign that something's going on with you metabolically that needs addressing. The heart as well. The heart will let you know if it's not getting enough. So if you're feeling dizzy when you stand up, if you're feeling like your heart is beating too fast, if you've had issues with fainting, these are all things not to ignore, are signs that yes, it's time to get some more support. Digestive issues, obviously, digestive issues are a big thing, either feeling bloated or stomach pain, or issues when you're using the toilet that are letting you know that, it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be uncomfortable. It shouldn't be, interrupting your life. The pain in your stomach shouldn't be something that's stopping you from eating or living your life normally. And for women, period issues. If you have a disruption to your menstrual cycle, Either it's stopped or it's changing. These are also signs that your body is trying to adjust to something. And if you're noticing those things alongside having some issues with feeding yourself regularly, then it probably is time to get some extra support. Thirdly is your mood. If your mood is really, really tanking out, you're finding yourself, I'm depressed, I'm feeling really low, I'm feeling angry all the time, I'm feeling worried all the time, I'm anxious, I'm having panic attacks. Your mood is very much linked with your physical body. And if your mood is feeling really dysregulated, then chances are this is a sign, once again, that the eating issues are not just a nothing to ignore. If you're having eating issues and a lot of mood problems, chances are this is worth talking about, getting to the bottom of, and figuring out what you can do to protect your health. And the fourth one, social problems. So much of society, how we socialize with others, is arranged around food, around meals, around coffee, around drinks. And if you're finding that your social life is impacted by some of the worries, fears, concerns you have, either about food or how you'll be seen, what you can eat, what you can't eat, it's taking up a lot of your energy to worry about how you're going to engage in these events. So this might look like avoiding places, times, people, friends where there will be food. It might mean going out with friends and saying, hey, I've already eaten, or I don't want to eat. It might look like spending a lot of time worrying about what is the menu going to be like, who's going to be there. If you're noticing issues in eating in front of other people, preferring to eat alone or eat in secret, these are also red flags that your eating issue probably is at the point where you need some more support and help. Lastly, I would just kind of add on this little bit. I'm saying eating issue because we kind of get caught up in diagnosis a lot. Is it this kind of eating disorder? Is it that kind of eating disorder? And if you don't necessarily fall very easily into one of these categories, you might start to tell yourself, it's not really that big of a deal, or, I just need to toughen up or get some willpower or get over it. But in reality, these eating issues that we can struggle from, they sort of ebb and flow. They can get worse in certain points of our life, get better at other points of our life. And you don't necessarily need to sort of minimize your problem to the point where you're saying, I need to be at a full, um, level of a diagnosable problem to ask for some help. Sometimes it's better to, get to the problem a little bit early, or address it when it's not as bad as it possibly could be. I'm just saying that to encourage you not to feel nervous or afraid of digging into how you're feeling and what's going on a little bit more before it gets really, really bad. In many, many cases, the dysfunctional behavior around food is related to some sort of distress or overwhelming situation in another part of life, either happening currently or maybe even in the past. So the food behavior that we see, the issues with food, are just really telling us kind of what level of distress you might be in with this overwhelming event or this stressful thing. So if you are at a point where you're saying, goodness, this is me, maybe I do need some extra support, what does that look like? Looking for someone in your local area, an eating disorder professional, a therapist, or a dietitian with a specialty in eating disorders might be a really useful tool. And how you can do that is, a Google search. There's also a website called Psychology Today where you can look for therapists, and it has options where you can tick the option, show me ones with eating disorder speciality. You can also specify other bits about them, where you want them to be, what kind of insurances, other little characteristics that they might have listed on their profile. Really would be worthwhile speaking to a doctor. However, remembering that not every doctor has a specialty in eating disorders. So it's difficult, but maybe being a bit proactive to ask for that, to look for that doctor with that kind of experience. It might mean looking outside of your normal doctor office or asking for a referral. And really, when I'm thinking about these four areas that I mentioned, asking, is it bad enough? What is going on with you physically? how it's affecting your mood, your mental health, and what's going on with your social life. Just really thinking about how that distress, that overwhelming thing, is maybe spreading out into these other areas of your life. Food is one way, body is one way that that distress might express itself. But if you're seeing it crop up in all of those areas, then that really is a big signal that it's affecting too much of your experience, and it's worth getting extra help. I'm going to drop some links below, websites where you can find out more about help with eating issues, and really not to be afraid. Information is power. Learning about yourself is powerful. I would love to hear your thoughts and your concerns. Always welcome in the comments. If you can find your way to make that finger hit the like button, the subscribe button, then I would be very grateful. And until next time, be well.